Okay, well, we are live, but we're in the pre-game lobby for a second while we're getting ready. The first race of F1 Broke Boys, I think this is season 12, right? It's season 12? We're in season 12 now. Round 1, though, the Bahrain Grand Prix. I think they're just waiting to get the last few drivers through the door. Make sure this lobby is good and full before we begin. I'm not racing today, of course, because I'm nowhere near as quick as these guys. It might be interesting, actually, for me, to see how fast Tier 2 can go. We're thinking maybe around the 127 might be good enough to get pole in this qualifying session. I know I watched back some of the Tier 6 yesterday, and strategies were, you know, unique. All over the place, probably fair to say. But exciting nonetheless, but maybe it'll be a bit more uniform tonight. I have to click spectator. How do I do that? Oh, I see. I'm definitely gonna probably mispronounce some names and get some people confused, but that's fine. I got my little reference sheet. Try and keep up with everything that's going on. I don't really know what to say about any of these drivers because we have had 0 races so far this season, so I don't know who's fast. I guess we're about to find out. Milan Langer, of course, won the championship last season, but he's now in Tier 1. So we won't be watching him blitz round Bahrain tonight. Not in Tier 2 anyway, but I think he is streaming his point of view over there for the Tier 1 race on his YouTube channel. I perhaps should have put a link to that somewhere in here. It's in the Discord. You know what I mean? There's links everywhere to the Broke Boys Discord. That's all you need to worry about. But yeah, I've never done commentary before on a race, and usually when I do race, I stream it and I don't say a word. So this could be interesting, but at least I haven't got to concentrate on keeping the car in a straight line. I'm just excited to see, you know, who's fast on the Tier 2 starting grid. First race of the season. We do have some reserve drivers taking part as well, I think. Tim's in the house. Well, I don't know who that is. People have different Discord names and different F1 names, so I don't know who they are. Wait, no. Oh, Tim's in the Alpine. I see. And Skullkiller, actually, is reserving the Haas today. Would love to be properly watching right now, Kelly. Have a great time, man. Speak soon. Speak soon, TR1. You're gonna miss all the action that's about to start in 20 seconds. While I learn the controls about how to be a spectator. Okay, qualifying about to get underway. We'll see who's out of the pits first. Oh, hello, Quattro, Angel Shot. Good to see you. I'm sorry, I've got two. I have two chats open because I'm live on Twitch and on YouTube. I apologize if I miss anybody, but I shall try not to because I have them both open, so I should be able to read them both. In the midst of concentrating on the race and trying to do a decent job, half decent job of telling the story of this evening. I quite like Bahrain, actually, because, you know, it's only, what is it, 15 corners? It's not a lot to remember, is it? I'm doing great, Angel Shot. How are you? It's lovely to have you with us. Yeah, I think it's like 15 corners, Bahrain. Even I should be able to keep track of where these cars are. We have a Red Bull out of the garage. But I'm not sure which one. Alright, just a bit annoyed, but still happy about my results from last night. Oh, were you racing in Tier 6 last night? How did that go for you? I think Igor was first out of the pits. Or was it Samurai? I'm not sure. We can follow Igor around a little bit, ready for this first lap. As long as you're commentating, it's better than you're driving, we're good. Thank you, Posh Boy. Good to have you with us. You will get clipped for the Tier 5 chat. Okay, I understand. I understand. I'm here and I'm ready for it. Pole off qualifying and P4 at the end. Well, yeah, it's disappointing, Angel, but P4 is P4 is P4, you know what I mean? Fourth place is fourth place is fourth place, and it's not fifth place. It's not even sixth place. It's not the end of the world. I think it was Samurai who was out as well, but yeah, he's definitely behind Igor, so Igor will be the first one to put a lap in. We might just follow the Alpine driver around for this first lap, and then we'll catch up on some lap times and see how everybody's facing on. Over the start-finish line then. Now, I was talking to Arbon a little bit beforehand about what might be a fast time in Tier 2. And he seems to think that we might be getting into the 126s with one of these qualifying laps. So let's see how that goes. That would be incredibly fast as far as I'm concerned. Looks reasonably tidy so far from Igor. Tyres are squealing a little bit, but they always do, especially as you're approaching the tricky braking zone into turn 10. Key, of course, we'll be seeing where his competitors fall behind him. Coming up to the final corner, I don't think this is going to be quite in that 126 region, is it? But first lap in Tier 2, Season 12 of Broke Boys. It is a 128.0 for Igor. And I think Samurai will be going faster than that by, what is that, just over a tenth. So pretty close so far. Who else do we have? Max is not on a fast lap here. Arbon currently setting a lap time. 10th Cannon, she puts in a 1:28.2. And Baha seems to have had an absolute nightmare with a 1:33.0. We'll definitely want to be putting in another lap and seeing about improving that time before the qualifying session is done. Luke with a 1:28.4. Looking like that 1:28 is going to be a pretty good time. 10 car, look at how close that is. Less than a tenth away from provisional P1 with a 1:27.9. Where can we go? Is anybody... Where's my... Oh, this will be Igor coming into the pits. I think Arbon will be completing a lap. But is it a fast lap as he comes over the start-finish line? It is a 1:27.6, and that is fast enough to put him on provisional pole position. By a good 0.2 of a second as well, so a pretty solid first lap from Arbon. Max seems to have abandoned this lap altogether. Lofty Pickle, McLaren, I missed that one, but just comes in with a 1:27.4. These lap times are getting faster. That's another 0.2 improvement on the previous provisional pole sitter. So Lofty Pickle currently sitting in P1 in that McLaren. We have an Aston Martin. I think Sean just completed the lap? No. Aston Martin perhaps just starting the lap. Golden Air Cryer. Looking to set his first lap of today's session. And we do have a Mercedes approaching. Oh, that's going to be Arbon on his in lap. Stay with the Golden Egg Cryer here for a second. Try and work it out. I think that might have been a purple Sector 1. I think Agbala Jobs. Oh, we thought maybe just starting a fast lap, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So we'll stay with Egg as he approaches the final corner now, coming down the end of this straight. Is it going to be fast enough to challenge the provisional pole sitter at the minute, which is Lofty Pickle, on a 1:27.4? It does not look like it. And it's actually going to be a 1:28.8 for Golden Egg Fryer, which is at least fast enough to not be last. Oh, and Max has had a nightmare. He's out. Max is out of the session. He throws the V-carb into the wall. And an absolute disaster for Max in this qualifying. So only set a 1:31.2 as a fastest lap. If Baha can get his act together, which is quite likely to be the case, Max may be sitting way down the back of the grid, I think, by the time we're done with this qualifying session. I'm glad that we caught that chaos there for a moment. Baha warming up those tyres, getting ready for a fast lap here in the Kick Sauber. Going to be looking for an improvement on that 1:33.0. That won't be fast enough to do anything, really. Quick downshift as it goes through the winding section. And then down into third gear around the hairpin. Little bit of a wobble, but you're going to get wobbles. This is often the hardest part of the lap, and of course a lock up on the front left tyre going into turn 10. Sorry about that. Still Lofty Pickle then, sitting out in front with a 1:27.4. How fast is this lap going to be from Baja? Don't think it's going to challenge Pickle in P1 at the moment, although there's a lot of movers and shakers around the top. And it's very close from the kick-tower, a 1:27.5. I've got no idea what I'm talking about. Puts himself provisionally onto P2. Now, who's coming close to finishing a lap? Anybody? We've got Skullkiller here. He's currently improving by a 10th in the Haas. He's about to approach the final corner. Opens up that ERS, plenty of battery still to burn. Rear wing open, and it is a 1:28.7 for Skullkiller, which is an improvement, but not by very much. It's an improvement by a 10th or so, still sitting down in P12. I think his teammate might be about to finish a lap here. Luke coming in, currently half a second up on his fastest time, and there you go. It's a big improvement for Luke, up into P8 with a 1:27.9. Looking like 1:27.5 is where you want to be at the moment to be seriously challenging up near the top of the grid. I think, is that the other? No, it's just going to be Baja on an in lap. Egg, surely taking it into the pits. Oh no, okay. He's just starting another fast lap, Golden Egg Fryer. There is a Ferrari coming over. No, Ferrari going into the pits is what's happening there. Lofty Pickle also just coming into the pits. No improvement, I don't think, if he did put in a fast lap there. 1:27.474 is currently where the fastest lap sits. This is going to be a Haas driver also bringing the car into the pits. Who is on an out lap then? Do we have Bruce Wayne? No, that's a very slow one, so he's on an in lap too. It might just be Golden Egg Fryer with a pretty clear track, although I think the Red Bull Vagbala Jobs may just be starting a fast lap here. So we can perhaps follow this one around a little bit while Egg Fryer makes his way around the circuit. Well, it is an improvement by 1.5 hundredths of a second, and a big loss of traction there coming out of that tricky, windy, I guess you could call it an S's section. And I don't think this will be an improvement for Agbala Jobs. This one might just be a case of getting that car back into the pits, put on a fresh set of tyres, and try to go again one more time to go really fast. I don't think, we'll just watch until he gets to the end of Sector 2 here, but I'm pretty sure that that won't be an improvement on his previous fastest lap. No. Currently 8 tenths down. I think you just take the car into the pits and you try and get one more fast lap in. There's definitely going to be some people setting a few more fast laps. We only have 4 minutes to go in this qualifying session, so basically every lap that you see is going to be the final lap that the driver will be able to make. We have Samurai currently on an out lap, Igor is also on an outlap, ready to set one. Baha putting that incredible 127.5 to currently sit on P2. He is warming up the tyres here as he approaches the final corner. And will we see an improvement to knock Lofty Pickle off the top spot? He's going to want to improve by about a 10.5 in order to try and steal pole. And you would think that Pickle will still have a lap left in him too. Opportunity knocks though for Baha. Like it was close to an invalidation. He's currently a bit over a 10th down. There's plenty of time to be gained around the rest of the lap. He's going to have to pick up the pace a little bit. And a pretty big snap there on the exit of the hairpin. Keeps the car steady, but it won't be particularly fast. And I think, oh my goodness, I'm not sure if this is on my end or on Baha's end. But whatever's going on there, that might end up making the car go a little bit slow. We'll see how he is as he approaches. Yeah, I think he's already given up on this one. Maybe saving the battery. Ready for one final push on a slightly worn set of soft tires, but fair play. We can ride on board with Samurai here as he approaches the final corner. Currently sitting in P5. An improvement, you would think, would take him up at least a place or two. And there it is. We have a new pole sitter by around about 100th of a second. Less than that, in fact. Gold Samurai with a 127.466. It is incredibly tense currently at the top. I believe that Arbon just set his final fast lap there, unless he's going to try. I don't think he can really get the car around in time to set another, or is this his out lap maybe? Not sure if Arbon ditched that lap, but we do have people coming over start finish line, including Lofty Pickle, but currently on an outlap. So Lofty Pickle looking to try to reclaim pole position with this next fast lap from Gold Samurai. Sean coming over the start finish line, ready to set one final fast lap too. We have Bruce Wayne. It looks like he is on a fast lap here. Deploy used. He's got no ERS remaining, and it will not be an improvement. Very consistent though, just a couple of hundredths down on his previous lap time. But Bruce Wayne will be P8 or lower at the start of this race, you would feel. Eggfryer, incredibly, is on an outlap, and I think... Did he just cross the line? Well... Mel is in the pits, and that is the end of his qualifying session. I'll try and get these drivers as they come over. Arbon goes pole with a 127.392. As Igor brings the car into the pits. But what about the Red Bull just behind him? It is Agbala Jobs with an improvement, but not really up the grid, a 128.0. Infinity. Nope. Bringing that one into the pits. Is this the McLaren of Lofty Pickle? Just behind. Setting this fast lap here. And is it going to be enough? It is. It's a 127.339. And that does sit Lofty Pickle back on pole position. Just ahead of Arbon. Be very pleased with that. A couple of times where it looked like he might be losing P1 during this qualifying session. But that's a good lap in the end. Baha will be crossing the line shortly, but first of all, we'll just catch up with Luke. Is this going to be an improvement on a 127.9? It is, and it's good enough to put Luke up into P9 with that final fastest lap. Baha, oh, and it's slow. That's not going to make a dent in the top of the grid. I didn't actually catch what Samurai's final lap time was there, but it was either not an improvement or not enough of an improvement, because he still sits on P3, ready for the start of the race. So looking down the grid, ready to start the Bahrain Grand Prix, we have Lofty Pickle sitting on pole position with Arbon alongside him on the front row in the Mercedes. Followed by Gold Samurai, P3, Tenkart, P4. Sean is in P5. And Igor, P6. Baha only good enough to make it to P7, with 10th Cannon rounding out the top 8 before the race begins. Max will be very disappointed with the chaos that happened. I only really caught the end of it. I'm not really sure what happened and what the incident was for. Or how, I suppose, the car was lost. But Max will be disappointed. Starting, of course, from the back of the grid, because I think he only had a 1:31 lap as well. Just going to see what time we are ready and go. Well, don't know yet. Oh, here we go. 32 minutes past 8-ish. The race will begin. So 2 or 3 minutes away. Who's going to get the better start off the line? Arbon, as we say, sitting in P2. But I'm pretty sure that will be on the outside going into the first corner in Bahrain, with Lofty Pickle just ahead. The Samurai put in a quick lap earlier on, I think, in the qualifying session, I should say, to make sure that he is sitting in P3 for the start of this race. Everything's still a little bit unknown. I did mention that Tier 6 were racing yesterday, and the strategies, all kinds of strategies were being employed. People were on 1 stops, people were on 2 stops. People were taking out 2 sets of soft tyres sometimes from the garage. So I'm expecting slightly more uniformity from the Tier 2 drivers today, but that might not be the case. I think there is still, you know, a bit of a problem with the F1 game assuring you that you should be doing a 2-stopper at Bahrain. You don't really need to. It'll be hards to soft or medium today. I would have thought it would be hards to medium, or well, you can do medium to hards as well, right? I think it trips up some of the Tier 6 guys, I think, because it defaults you to a 2-stop, but you just have to trust the 1-stop, and I'm sure most of these Tier 2 drivers will be fully aware of that going into the race. Never actually been on this end of it. Do I get a notification when they're ready to start? I imagine I do. I also probably need to put it into broadcast mode and make sure I'm showing the tires so we can see where everybody's up to. Do all the things I'm supposed to be doing. Mediums feel awful on this track. That's the only reason it will be softs. Pit off hards around lap 18 to 20. Thinks Posh Boy. We'll see if that rings true. You don't think anybody's going to start on the softs then, for that reason? Try and make up a few places? I mean, we could, you know, we could well end up seeing a train taking everybody around the track for a little while, but we are down now to the start of the race, onto 5 red lights. And away they go. Lofty Pickle seems to have got away well. That is some chaos going on in the background, though. 10 car in the Ferrari. Not sure exactly what's happened there, but a huge spin, crashed into the wall. Looks like the Ferrari is still going. But he's probably going to have some pretty severe wing damage and may need to come into the pits immediately. Let's get those tyres on. We do have Lofty Pickle actually starting on the soft tyres, and then a smattering of different strategies, mediums and hards being deployed for lap 1 across the field. Max has been disqualified from the session for driving the wrong way. Which is pretty unforgivable, isn't it? Maybe Max or someone disappointed with the quali. Oh, I see. And you think maybe that's what happened to 10 car? Could well be. Hopefully he wasn't a casualty of somebody else's rage. In the meantime, whilst I've been trying to work out what happened to the Ferrari, Arbon has lost P2. Samurai has taken that position from him, and there's almost about a second gap. Yeah, it looks like going into lap 2, unless Arbon can close that gap a little bit, he might have already fallen out of DRS range on the Red Bull in front. So he'll want to put that right as quickly as possible and maybe have to work with some of the drivers behind him. But there's a huge train of cars now from P3 all the way down to, I guess, what looks like at least P12 there, with the V-carb and the kick also in shot. But yeah, Arbon now is down almost 2 seconds on Samurai in P2, and also loses out to Igor. Arbon now, pretty terrible start to this race, I think it's fair to say. Sitting in P4, a long way to go though, and he is on the hard tyres, so maybe it's part of a, you know, part of a longer game, a bit of a longer term strategy. Yeah, he is on a set of hards. So be hoping that you can make some of those, some of that time back up towards the end of this race. Lofty Pickle, we should say, on the soft tyres, the only driver on the grid to have started the race on soft tyres, is currently a 1.5 seconds ahead of Golden Samurai in P2. He will have to pit earlier than everybody else, though, so it'll be interesting what happens with the strategy there. But a huge train of cars behind P3, really. Igor's in P3, and then we have Arbon, followed by Sean, 10th Cannon, Baha, Bruce Wayne, Luke, Egg Fryer, and Agbala Jobs, all just within DRS range. We could see some positions shifting. It looks like 10th and Sean kind of side by side going around the first corner. Sean will have the inside line going through turn 3, I think it is, here at Bahrain, and just about keeps ahead of the Mercedes. Baha now is also attacking 10th Cannon on the inside. Definitely don't want to try and overtake through the next winding section, though, as they approach the hairpin. A little bit of a lock-up, possibly from the Aston Martin in front. We get a nice onboard shot here with Baha. You see all kinds of smoke coming from the tyres into the tricky braking zone of turn 10 for the cars in front. Looks like Lofty Pickle is extending his lead at the front of the race, though. Now 2 seconds ahead of Gold Samurai in P2, who is a 1.5 seconds out in front of Igor, who's also looking to pull out of DRS range of Arbon. I'm not sure if the Mercedes is going to be able to keep up with the very fast drivers in front currently. Arbon is now a second down on Igor, and Sean makes him pay for it with that DRS. 10th cannon, she will also get past. And Arbon's not going to fight that one too much against his Mercedes teammate. Happy for her to take P5, and hopefully some of these drivers can now work together a little bit to try and close the gap on some of those leaders. But as we have discussed, they've gone with some pretty aggressive strategy decisions up in front. So you might just have to play the long game. Igor, though, looks like he has closed the gap here to Gold Samurai to within a second, and should have the DRS open coming down this straight. So, yeah, gaining more time now on the Red Bull in front, who has dropped back to 3 seconds behind Lofty Pickle's McLaren, currently running these soft tyres. Be interesting to see how long Pickle can make those soft tyres last. You would think it's still going to be a one-stop and onto a set of hards next. And they're crossing the line now for lap 5 of the 29 laps around the Bahrain circuit. Still a little bit of a train going all the way back from, well, from P2 now, because I've missed that one. Igor, with the DRS, did manage to get around Gold Samurai in the first section, but it looks like the Red Bull might be in front again. They're going to be side by side coming through the twisty section. That is very close. Looks like pretty great racing by all involved, and Igor keeps the inside line into the hairpin, and the Red Bull will stay behind for now. But you would think in a moment that Samurai, with the DRS open, is going to get past the Alpine once again on this main straight. Maybe not, though. Looks like he didn't get quite as good of an exit after turn 10. He may just have to sit behind here for a moment. He probably won't mind that. Chance to recharge some of the battery. Perhaps just sit in this position. It really does look like Pickle is building up a solid lead, but it needs to be a solid lead if he's going to make that strategy work. There could be some position changes coming up here on the main straight. Samurai, of course, with the DRS. Igor not really looking to defend that one too much, and Sean also going for a huge dive to try and get up into P2. This is definitely going to lose them some time against Lofty Pickle out in front, but Sean eventually has to tuck in behind Samurai back into P3, and 10th cannon now. It looks like she's made the move around the inside of Igor in the Alpine. Alpine still there, though, side by side as they come into the little hairpin here, and it looks like the Mercedes might stay ahead, but it's a better exit for Igor as we approach this awful braking zone of turn 10. Igor claims that inside line, and yeah, should have the DRS on the cars in front. So 10th can't quite make the move stick on the Alpine, but some good racing happening so far. Sean on these hard tyres here, showing pretty good pace so far, because he should be able to keep this pace up for a little bit longer than a lot of the drivers around him. And Arbon, after starting P2 on the grid currently, is sitting down in P6, but maybe not too much to worry about. Like we say, he's on the hards as well. He's stayed in the DRS of these guys. Sean goes past Samurai in the Red Bull on the main straight with that DRS open. 10th cannon makes a dive up the inside going into turn 1, and Igor We'll have the inside line going into turn 2, and I believe that is 3 here at Bahrain. Arbon maybe looking to come through the middle of them now. They are 3 wide, and 10th has to back out of that one. Ends up losing a spot, actually, to Baha and drops down to P7. Pretty risky move from her teammate there in Arbon, and a big lock-up as well for Arbon, and we nearly have some comings together, but that has not worked out in 10th's favour at all. She is unfortunately now down in P9, and oh my goodness, just to make matters worse, just to be fully rage-inducing, now has a 3-second time penalty for her trouble, and I think, to be honest, it seemed like most of that was just trying to avoid any collisions and awkwardness with some cars struggling up in front. But a really unfortunate series of events there for 10th. And maybe her teammates got a little bit of responsibility. Back to the start, I think the Ferrari lost it themselves. You couldn't see any contact. Oh, you've wound it back and had a look. Well, thank you. Yeah, just maybe that is the case. But Tenkar is still with us anyway. He is down currently in P16 and a cool 22 seconds off any of the other drivers. But I can't really afford to be watching any of that because there is so much action happening in this little cluster from like P4 to P9. I guess Samurai is still involved in this one, but we can see just ahead of 10th there that Bruce Wayne and Baha going side by side into the previous corner, but Bruce Wayne now has to back out and the Williams will tuck in behind the Kick Sauber. Coming into the next corner, Luke looking to go around the outside of the Williams, doesn't quite get the traction though, and they're going to be approaching turn 10. All kinds of lockups for all kinds of tyres into turn 10, but Luke will slot behind the Williams. And Baha, does he have the DRS here? I don't... I think possibly he didn't. So that could be a pretty significant moment if Samurai, Arbon and Igor are able to pull away from this chasing pack with so much fighting happening behind them. That might give them a nice little buffer. But a lot of this is going to come down to strategy and when people pit and how long they can make the tyres go and which are the best tyres in the long term for the race, you would think. Samurai then, you would think, well, Arbon, he's not going to get him on this straight, but he is going to close that gap and is within a second and almost, Igor almost into the back of the Mercedes. Just doesn't know his own speed. But crisis averted as we're going to look at Luke making a dive down the inside here of the Kick Sauber and just about leaves Baha room there on the outside, but will make the move stick. Nice cool clean overtake from Luke in the Haas. He's up into P7. But Bruce Wayne now is 2 seconds down on Igor in the Alpine in front. Those are big numbers in Formula 1. So we could see a little bit of a gap starting to form. Lofty Pickle still has that kind of 4-second buffer to Sean now, by the way, who has... this has kind of gone unnoticed to me because I've been watching so much of the action happening in that sort of, you know, mid-grid rumble. But Sean has a 2.5-second lead on the Red Bull of Golden Samurai behind. Looks to have really cemented P2 on the hard tyres. Should be able to make these last a while. And Lofty Pickle is now into the pits. So we'd imagine that that's going to be a one-stop and the hard tyres go on for the rest of the race. And Sean is now leading the race. Arbon has actually got past Samurai there on the main straight and is now up into P2. So Arbon must have been making some crazy overtakes that lap that I was not paying attention to. Yeah, he did get Samurai there. Samurai might have a look going into the next section though. We've seen Arbon make a couple of mistakes in the lead up. or the entry of Sector 2, we should say, so far. But looks nice and clean so far, and Samurai will sit behind that in the Red Bull. 10th here with that 3-second penalty, just about keeping up with Baha, who has now lost, well, he's down a second and a half to the Haas in front, and Luke in the Haas is 2 seconds down to Igor. Arbon does maintain P2 for the moment, still 2.5 seconds down on Sean in the Aston Martin, who is currently leading the race though. Lofty Pickle, as expected, puts on a fresh set of hard tyres and should be looking to take those to the end of the race. Still probably feeling pretty good about things, Pickle, because of the lead that was built up. And we have a caution in Sector 1. I think it is just the Ferrari that seems to be meandering its way around the circuit currently. Samurai closing in. Ooh, what has happened there? 10th, unfortunately, ends up with a 10-second penalty. A severe collision with Baha. And once again, I'm missing all the best action. Sorry about that. But that seems pretty significant. That is probably race over for 10th in the Mercedes, and Arbon maybe carrying the hopes of the team on his back. And we look at Bruce Wayne trying to hold that inside line there against Luke, who has the fresh mediums on after just pitting, which is probably relatively bold, but Luke making those mediums work and aggressively getting around Bruce Wayne in the Williams, and then Skull Killer, his teammate in the Haas, up into P9. But yeah, a fresh set of mediums on lap 11. I think that's relatively bold. He may have had his hand forced slightly by the incident that happened behind. But we can see Lofty Pickle is already up into P7. And all of the guys in front are still to pit. It doesn't look like, I mean, he's what? Less than 20 seconds down, I guess, on the leader of the race currently. So it looks like he's in a pretty strong position. Under a little bit of pressure here from Mel behind. But Mel will be feeling the weight of those medium tyres by now, you would have thought. Morad on board with Agbala Jobs as he watches General Jake have a big moment in the V-carb in front and will want to be flying past him, you would think, here on this next main straight. If he can get the traction coming out of turn 10, it doesn't look like it. The V-carb has rocketed away from that one. And Agbala Jobs having some trouble, it seems like, there to keep up with the junior team out in front. Lofty Pickle, though, still seems to be keeping everything cool, keeping everything collected, and really is still looking good to be in the lead of this race once all of the pit stops have happened. And we do have 2 pit stops happening right now. Samurai and Igor finally getting rid of those medium tyres. So it looks like there are just... I can see that, can't I, somehow? Yeah, it looks like there are 6 drivers left to pit. Sean, Arbon, Jake, Agbala Jobs, Mel, and Skull Killer, in fact, down in P13. It could end up being a pretty rotten evening for Skull Killer. Can you check the gap to the leader? Yeah? Oh, I see. So Lofty Pickle currently has a 16-second gap. I can leave it on this view if you like. I think that's totally fine. Yeah, Lofty Pickle currently has a 16-second gap to the leader, which should mean he's in a pretty solid position to take the lead of the race once those pit stops happen. Next closest driver then really is going to be Luke in the Haas, who is about 10 seconds behind Lofty Pickle and sort of sitting in P2 at the minute, but he's probably going to be meeting some traffic when those guys come out of the pits. Plus you would think that Luke will be thinking about making another pit stop here, unless he's going to take the medium tyres 18 laps, which I think would be a very, very bold call, all things considered. But still no pit stops for the 4 cars out in the lead of this race, with Sean a nice 4-second lead currently over Arbon, who himself has 9 seconds. And oh, it's just a pit stop. I thought we had craziness happening. Himself has 9 seconds over General Jake in P3. It looks like Jake and Agbala Jobs could be in for a little bit of a tussle as they burn out what is remaining, what life is remaining on those hard tyres. I just wanted to see it for the pit gaps. Sean will be safe for roughly 28 seconds, as you can easily gain 4 to 6 seconds on softs when he pits, if onto softs. Yeah, if he goes onto softs. But if he's safe for 28 seconds, then that's going to put him right in the mix with Luke, Samurai, you would think, right? And I guess 10th will be around there, but 10th, unfortunately, is sitting with 13 seconds of penalties at the moment. But Balajob's still in the DRS here of General Jake, and probably will get him on the straight here. Not really too much of a defense put up by the V-Carb. Might look to hang it around the outside, though, as Igor sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:30.3 in the Alpine. And General Jake does manage to keep the inside line coming around turn 3, and not really much of a challenge now into the next corner for Agbalajobs. The only real problem with that is they're really just losing time on the cars around them that are driving with fresh tyres in relatively clean air. And here you can see it, Lofty Pickle is now in DRS range, within DRS range of the Red Bull in front, and this will probably do his claim for the race win here today the world of good, as the Red Bull seems to just fully get out of the way of the very fast McLaren there. Could be a bit of an in-lap for Agbalajobs and or General Jake. Depends how long they want to take those hard tyres. Currently sitting at 14 laps, but no pit stops by Sean and Arbon in front as yet. Lofty Pickle does manage to get around, or up the inside, we should say, of General Jake in that final corner, and also managed to play it right to get the DRS2 for the main straight. So it's really, you would think, going to come down to a tussle between the V-Carb and the Red Bull again, although Agbalajobs losing a little bit of time coming through the first few corners. And General Jake helped along by the DRS that he's now picking up, and a bit of a slipstream, to be honest, from Lofty Pickle in the McLaren in front. A little bit of dirty air, though, coming into play as they twist around the winding section. The interesting thing, like you say, will be once Sean and Arbon do pit, where are they going to fall in the rest of the field? You were saying, Posh Boy, that we think it's about 26 seconds. I would make it that that's going to put Sean right in and around kind of P8 currently, although might be looking at 9 or 10 if his worn tyres are losing him a little bit of lap time at the moment. Albon, it's probably going to be even worse. Might be ahead of his teammate just on account of those penalties. But it's looking pretty impossible to stop the charge right now of Lofty Pickle, who has a pretty solid handle on the lead of this race. Currently sitting in P3, but only 14 seconds off Sean, the leader. Sean and Albon still yet to make their pit stop. Might be hoping for some kind of late safety car, but we have had drama already as we watch 10th Cannon cruise past Baja in the Kick Sauber down the main straight. And Baja just loses the rear of the car going round into T2, which means Bruce Wayne in the Williams manages to get past. And really, Bruce Wayne here will just be looking to get past these two cars as stress-free a way as possible. Because they, of course, have the penalties. I believe that Baja's still on a 3-second penalty, and 10th in front is unfortunately sitting with 13 seconds. So Bruce will probably just like to get this out of the way and maybe make a little bit of a charge on some of the cars in front. I accidentally hit my overtake button in first gear and spun. Lars, who are you? I have no idea who you are, Lars. You're the Ferrari. Oh, I see. And that's what happened to the Ferrari at the start of the race. Oh, no. We were wondering because we thought, you know, some people had... I mean, Max particularly had qualified pretty bad and ended up being disqualified for driving the wrong way, which I didn't really catch too much of that, to be honest. We wondered whether it might have been a bit of a flip out or something like that from the V-carb, but it looks like just a loss of control. The 10 kart in the Ferrari. Sorry about that one, but if you're gonna spin out in a race, it might as well be round one, right? It might as well be the first race of the season. Could see a hard runner pit this lap. I think that you are probably correct, Posh Boy. I think that we will. Albon nowhere near Sean currently, and Pickle is honestly just improving his gap to the cars in front. General Jake doesn't have the DRS currently on Pickle in front, so really not much benefit to be had by the V-carb and the Red Bull behind. Those guys still need to pit. 4 of the top 5 still need to pit. Sean in the Aston Martin, Albon in the Mercedes, General Jake in the V-carb, and Agbala Jobs in the Red Bull yet to take off the tyres that they started the race on. And with just, what, 11 laps to go, you're going to have to start thinking about it at some point. I was like, what happened? And then I saw my overtake was on. Well, congratulations, 10 kart. You can have... Do we do... What kind of awards do we do in Broke Boys? Like wooden spoons or something? Plastic tires. You know what I mean? You can have the... you can have whatever award you like for making a mess of it. But it happens. I don't think... Did you crash into anybody else? I guess we'll find out later on, to be honest. As we see Luke come into the pits, and we did think, right, that it was a strange call from Luke to throw those medium tyres on. That was only 8 laps ago, and he's now going to be sitting with a set of hard tyres for the final 10 laps of the race. Looks like he's going to lose out to his teammate. Yep, Skull Killer goes past. Mel is going to get past as well. And Luke probably not going to have a great finish now to this race, having to make that very late pit stop onto a fresh set of hard tyres. Still no pit stops for Sean in the Aston, Albon, General Jake or Agbala Jobs. Igor looking to make a move on Agbala Jobs and will have the inside line with the nice fresh medium tyres. Going into the left-hander there, and is going to make the move stick. Is there a chance that Igor could get anywhere near Lofty Pickle by the end of the race? I think the answer to that is no, because he's 7.5 seconds down. But that was a nice move, and Luke ends up with a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, so there must be a few times there where Luke has drifted off the track, and unfortunately the third driver today to end up with a time penalty. We do now see Arbon and Sean pit, and we see General Jake and Agbala Jobs, so they all come into the pit for lap 20. Sean and Arbon fitting a set of soft tyres. General Jake opts for the mediums, and Agbala Jobs also onto the softs. So the positions they've come out in, Sean has had to slot in 2 seconds behind Gold Samurai in the Red Bull in front. Arbon is all the way down in P7, but he's not too far away from his teammate 10th, and Bruce Wayne in front. We might ride on board with Arbon here for a second, as all kinds of jostling for position is happening between the Mercedes and the Williams. His teammate 10th, with her 13 seconds of time penalties, does let Arbon by and allow her Mercedes teammate to challenge Bruce Wayne for this P5 position, and you would think also have a reasonable chance of getting the extra point for the fastest lap of the race today. Are we going to see many defensive moves here from Bruce Wayne? No. Not on the main straight. Yeah, Aston in the pit. They all went into the pits, and we do have some soft tyre runners now. Bruce Wayne is going to want to just be keeping up with Arbon, who, on those fresher tyres, I mean, has got himself back into the top 5. So in the end, not worked out too badly. General Jake and Agbala Jobs, though, strategy has not been as impressive for them. What are the penalties like on the cars in front? So, I mean, 10th actually gets past. Oh, Bruce Wayne has got into the pit. He's got into the pit. A lot of people doing a 2-stopper here then, which is interesting. Unless there was more chaos than I thought that happened at the start of the race, and people, you know, are just having to repair damaged cars. This is all seeming very interesting. You would think, as Sean, I believe, has just made the move there on Samurai to bring himself up into P2, you would think that Arbon might have a reasonable chance of catching Samurai by the end of this race as well, and maybe getting himself into a podium position now. Surely there won't be any more pit stops. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the stops here. Oh, I forgot how... Wait, I don't want to see that. Yeah, so we have 2 stops for Igor, 2 stops for Luke, and 2 stops for Bruce Wayne. But so far, doesn't seem to have paid them very many dividends. Bruce Wayne also throwing on a set of medium tyres to end the race. Arbon just around about 4 seconds down now on Samurai, as Sean sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:29.0. Those lap times are really coming down with all of these fresh, soft tyre runners looking to get that extra point, the extra bonus point for the fastest lap. Really, the race, I mean, Pickle is way out in front. Sean might be gaining, though. We'll have to try and keep an eye on that gap. Right now, it's lap 22, and it's 8 seconds. Don't think Sean's going to be able to threaten Pickle at all. Maybe, though, but I wouldn't have thought so. But you'll probably be able to bring that gap down a little bit. It's already, just in the time I've been talking about it, come down by another half a second and more. But really, you would think the race is to see who's going to finish on the podium and how they're going to finish on the podium. Although Arbon is now within 3 seconds of Samurai in the Red Bull in front, and he is gaining ground all the time. Arbon will think that with the tyre advantage, he should be able to make the Red Bull pay by the end of the race. But we shall see. Meanwhile, down in P7, 8, and 9, we have Jake, Igor, and Agbala Jobs not too far away from each other. Agbala Jobs actually within DRS range of the Alpine in front here. He gets a good exit from the final corner. We might see the Red Bull make a move on the Alpine, who does not have the DRS. I don't think so anyway, because General Jake Just a little bit too far in front. That might work out well for General Jake here if the Red Bull and the Alpine get into fighting range for the final few laps of the Bahrain Grand Prix. You would think that the V-Carb in front might have the opportunity to pull out a bit of a lead. I'm not biased at all, but I do drive for V-Carb in Tier 5, so might be a little bit biased. Arbon, incredibly, has cut the gap down to Samurai in front to almost 1 second now, and he's very nearly within the DRS range, and you would think with still another, what, 6-7 laps to go of this race, the Mercedes will get the Red Bull before we are finished here today. Sean, meanwhile, we mentioned that the gap to Lofty Pickle in front was 8 seconds, and I think that was maybe only a lap ago. And it's now less than 6. So some huge gains being made here by the Aston Martin on the McLaren in front. There is not a chance that Pickle is going to be thinking about pitting again. He is going to be taking those hard tyres that are currently 14 laps old to the end of the Grand Prix. It's just how much are these softs going to wear? Is it going to give Sean the opportunity to really make a push for the race win? I think it's very ambitious to suggest that, but the time he's gaining so far is significant. Arbon here then, looking like he's going to make the move around the outside of the Red Bull. It's very close, but he doesn't quite get it done, and the Red Bull will just about maintain the lead coming through what I like to call the S's section of Bahrain. I don't know that too many other people do. And slots in behind, but you would think during the next DRS zone, and with a nice clean exit from turn 10 with these soft tyres, Arbon should be able to make the advantage count here as the Red Bull drifts out to the side and the Mercedes goes flying through on the overtake. No problem. Albon then up into P3 and into a podium position. I think the entire mission now for Samurai will be just to try and stay with him, but realistically, I don't think there's going to be much chance of that, really, over the final 5 or so laps of the Grand Prix. Meanwhile, Sean, it's less than 5 seconds now, the gap to Pickle in P1. But those soft tyres, especially if he's pushing them really, really hard, to try and gain this advantage, will be feeling it, and I am missing all kinds of happenings with Samurai managing to get past around the inside and then the outside of Arbon going into turn 1, 2 and 3. Arbon can't quite find a line to make an overtake going into turn 4 there, and through the S's again. It looks like Samurai might be able to hang with Arbon up until the end of the race, and if he can, and if he can make DRS advantage pay when he has it, this podium position is not settled yet, even though Arbon has much better tyres and realistically should feel like he's in a superior position. And I don't think it wasn't like just a swap on the straights, was it, between Arbon and Samurai? Because they were definitely side by side going into turn 1. So it wasn't really just like a, you know, bit of a strategy in terms of let's make some ground on the cars in front. I think we had a yellow flag here for maybe a little bit of an incident between Golden Egg Fryer and Infinity, but seems to have resolved itself down the bottom of the order. Arbon then will once again be staring down the rear of a Red Bull going into lap 26 of this race. I will jump over to Sean if that gap comes down much further. It is now less than 4 seconds to Pickle out in front. Unfortunately for Golden Egg Fryer, that is a 3-second penalty, and it's basically race over for the Aston Martin down there, but he might finish above Skullkiller. Plus, I think aren't points awarded for top 15 in Broke Boys, so still points to be won down there. But once again, yeah, the Red Bull of Gold Samurai is holding his ground against the probably impatient Mercedes of Arbon, currently sitting in P4. 3.5 seconds, less than that now, to the leader for Sean. Not very many laps, though, to make up the rest of that gap. Meanwhile, we were kind of missing all of this, but Igor is having a little bit of on-track action with Baha, but Baha, with the penalty, doesn't really have a finishing position, but good to see the drivers still putting in a little bit of a contest. Funny how no one actually knows the point system of this league. Yeah, I got no idea. Basically, if you finish the race, you probably get a point, yeah. That's the truth of it, Bosh Boy. That's the Broke Boy way. Baha, unfortunately, ends up with another 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So I think, yeah, that is 6 seconds now for Baha, and... well, hopefully won't get caught by Luke, because Luke has the 3 seconds himself. But we'll want to, you know, keep making a race of it with Igor in front here, at least in terms of on-track racing. Meanwhile, Arbon looks like he's going to get up the inside of Gold Samurai, and the Red Bull going into turn 4, and the Red Bull trying to hang around the outside, but there's not really enough traction there on those old hard tires to gain any kind of advantage. And Arbon looks like he wanted to just say, I don't want to be stuck behind this Red Bull, or indeed stuck fighting this Red Bull, as we go into the very end of the Bahrain Grand Prix. And I assume spending a little bit of battery there. I should have had this on, shouldn't I, for longer. But was probably spending a little bit of battery there to make the advantage count and just try and keep Samurai off his back to maintain that podium position. But Samurai currently not going anywhere, still within a second of the Mercedes driver, and will have the DRS once again as we approach now the start of lap 28 for these two cars. Sean, I think it's going to be just not quite good enough. He hasn't really gained much time in the past few laps now, sitting at just over 3 seconds the gap to Lofty Pickle, who, I'm sorry, we haven't sort of rode on board with very much, but has had a largely uneventful race. Is coming across one of the back markers here. I assume that this is Skull Killer. Might even get a nice little DRS boost from that one. But there's not an awful lot of action happening at the top of the race, and I think P1 and P2, barring any crazy moments at the end, is pretty locked in place. It looks like Igor might be able to make a move on General Jake to snatch away P6 from the V-Carb, so we'll try and keep an eye on that one. Baha, unfortunately, with 6 seconds of penalties, is going to fall behind Agbala Jobs in the order no matter what, as long as neither driver has any wild moments, of course. Arbon now has finally pulled out of DRS range of the Red Bull behind, although not the best corner there, although a decent exit. And hopefully he'll be thinking as he approaches the final lap of the race, which Lofty Pickle has just begun, that if he can keep the Red Bull over a second behind, he shouldn't have to worry about the DRS catching him up. And that should be a 3rd place for Arbon and a podium position. But a good fight by Gold Samurai at a time when, honestly, it looked like, with very old and less effective tyres, he might be struggling. But this is really going to be exciting in the final lap of the Grand Prix. Very aggressively up the inside there for Igor, and General Jake does have to cede the position, but didn't really want to. These two are going to be fighting all the way up until the finish line. Igor has, I guess you would say, the tyre advantage, but really he has 8-lap-old mediums, which, 8-lap-old softs, which might be struggling with slightly more than the 9-lap-old mediums. General Jake will have the DRS on the next straight. Half a lap to go. Arbon comfortably now into P3. And again, barring any disasters, should be able to maintain that podium position as he crosses the finish line in the first race of the season in Tier 2 of F1 Broke Boys. Lofty Pickle then, we'll just get a little bit of a look at this. He is going across the finish line and win the Bahrain Grand Prix, the first race winner in Tier 2, we should say, of Broke Boys for this season. Arbon cements that podium position as well into P3. Igor does have, and it's chaos down in P6, P7. I'm not sure if somebody caused the collision there. We caught it a little bit too late. Perhaps I should have stayed with it. But General Jake, in the end, does finish ahead of Igor, and Igor actually loses out to Agbala Jobs. I think Igor had the lead going into the final corner and may have had just a little bit of a love tap from General Jake behind, but that might be presumptuous of me to say. I'm sure it'll all get sorted out in the steward's room if there is anything to sort out. But aside from that, very exciting to see them racing all the way up until the checkered flag. And it looks like everybody has now completed this race. Unfortunately, I think that Skullkiller was lapped by Lofty Pickle by the end, who ran a great race. Lofty Pickle, not really much drama to speak of. Chose the correct strategy, had plenty of clean air for most of the race, and a deserved winner. Sean did incredibly well in that first stint, it has to be said. And just managed to build up, you know, bit of a good lead on those hard tyres, and by the time he was on the softs by the end, he was really attacking Pickle out in front, and maybe was making him worry for 1 or 2 laps. And a good drive by Arbon to nail P3 as well and cement that final podium position. It did look for a moment like Samurai might have been there in the Red Bull to spoil the day. Igor went very slow mid-corner. Jake accidentally ran into him is what it looks like. I see. Well, accidentally would indicate the intentions of a driver, wouldn't it? And that's kind of impossible to tie down, but whatever the case, it's probably going to be one. I mean, maybe nobody will care, but you would think with how many positions changed at the end of the race there, it would probably be one that the stewards are going to look at. Before we race again next week for round 2. This was fun though. This was okay. I enjoyed watching this. Maybe I picked up some tips for my race coming up on Friday as well. Don't have an order of the drivers to go through, so I guess I just have to remember that Lofty Pickle won the race. Sean with a very good drive and a great first stint on those hard tyres did end up P2, and Arbon rounding out the podium on P3 with Samurai probably unlucky in the end to finish P4. Not too many penalties on the go, although a pretty hefty one for 10th, and I'm sure that she will have some things to say about that because it looked like there was chaos happening on the track. But it's the first race of the season. Points will be given out. Stewards will have a look. Any incidents that need looking at, and then the Tier 2 of Broke Boys will be back on Wednesday or next week. It might be with me, although it might not be with me, when they go racing in Austria, one of the fastest tracks in the F1 calendar. So that should be a lot of fun. Thanks everybody for chilling out. Thanks Posh Boy, Natty. Thanks Lars. Take it easy, and I'll see you again soon.